Does Donald Sterling have dementia? I was in court this week, and the experts were there, along with all the documents to reveal. So I'll let you know later in the segment whether he does or whether I think he does or not. So let's talk a little bit about dementia. What is dementia? Dementia is a blanket term for saying that somebody has a memory loss. Somewhat like cancer, there are all types of cancers, but then you drill it down to the type of cancer. It's the same with dementia. So the most common forms of dementia are Alzheimer's, vascular dementia, Lewy body. There are so many others in addition. But it really means that somebody has a diagnosis with symptoms that can lead to a specific type of dementia. Early memory loss really looks at some forgetfulness. We look at issues with language, and we look at issues where we have just some problems with reasoning. So let's go on and look at what happened with Donald Sterling in the trial. He's actually not on trial. It's a hearing. It's a hearing to see whether or not he is, they followed the letter of the law with the trust document. So the experts are saying 2 people had to decide whether or not he has dementia. So actually what wound up happening is they do. They all said he does have dementia. So what does that mean moving forward for the Clippers? I'm not really sure, because I'm sure it'll be contested. But let's look at other issues with dementia. Are there reversible dementias? Absolutely. So if you're concerned about dementia for yourself, you need to go to your physician. You need to talk about that memory loss with him or her and ask for referral to your neurologist. With that, there might be issues with depression, very common issue that may be diagnosed as dementia, but it's actually depression. You could have a vitamin deficiency. You could have an issue with medication interactions. You could have an issue with your thyroid. So please get it checked out. And please realize that when Donald Sterling is being as unreasonable as he is, it's because he has early stages dementia, and that's not going to be reversible. Back to you guys.
What I want to find out about that, Mary, is when you were there in court, who did they have on the set? I mean, not like specific names, but was it his doctor, or was it just an expert that they decided to call up from the other side? Did you know who they had come up with that diagnosis?
Actually, they had one of the top experts in neuropsychology, Dr. Platzer, and she's examined probably 3,000 people or better, specifically to issues in court as well. And he had not been her physician prior, but she is able to sit down, talk with somebody, go through a series of tests. He also had some neurological exams. He had a PET scan, and he had a CT scan. And with those things, they were actually able to see that there was shrinkage in the brain, certain areas where there was shrinkage in the brain. The brain's really interesting because we behave or don't behave certain ways because we have impairment in certain parts of the brain. And some of those tests with his scans really reveal why he behaves a certain way. He's a really willful person to begin with, so we know that we're going to have that kind of drama and that a little ego attached to some of his decision making, but you can see that he's very irrational in this whole process of deciding that he won't sell those Clippers. So until he really progresses a little more and becomes more advanced in this issue, it's going to be really tough to understand, or for the layperson to really understand, that this is not just the ego of Donald Sterling. This is dementia starting to take over, and specifically Alzheimer's.
Mary, so usually when you talk about dementia, you're equating it to somebody who's perhaps of like advanced age, but have there been cases that you've seen where it's somebody who's fairly young that was diagnosed with dementia or showed signs of early onset of dementia?
You know, when somebody's really young and diagnosed, it's typically because of maybe a brain injury or because there's a hereditary issue. So we have Alzheimer's where it can be hereditary, but it's very, very, very uncommon to have an early onset. So early onset would be before the age of 65. Something like Huntington's chorea is also a genetic disorder and has memory loss. You see a lot of anger and some real kind of strange behaviors where people pull back, mostly because they're a little embarrassed that they're not able to engage the way they used to. You pick up on it yourself but it's a little hard to understand very early on. In fact, with Donald, the experts are saying he's had this probably for 3 to 5 years. So it's been very, very subtle and getting more obvious.